All right, up next we have Gemini rising and sun. So this full moon that's happening on the 23rd is taking place in your sixth house. And it is a full moon of Scorpio, of course, which means that the sun is opposite it in the 12th house. So this is really a time when a full moon's in the sixth house where we can start to have greater awareness, especially psychologically, around the way that we kind of manage our work or our health or our daily routines. We might start to process some feelings around these aspects of our lives. So, for example, you could be going through some type of transition where you're coming into I guess, like something that is more in alignment with you. So let's say that you have been neglecting your health, and that's something that you know that you've been needing to work on. This full moon can illuminate those needs. Let's say that you are needing to shake up your routine or your eating habits or even the place that you're working at. This could be a time, again, in which that becomes really obvious and you are becoming more aware of a transition needing to be made. With the sun in the 12th house, often we have less energy, less vitality. It's really a time where we're meant to turn inward and process parts of this transition, because you might be letting go of something in order to transition. And even part of what you might be letting go of might not be an actual thing in your life, but it might be something more spiritual, psychological, energetic that will support this transition. So letting go fear, letting go of a certain way of seeing something, letting go of belief systems that you carry with you, or things from the past that that have maybe weighed down on you to some extent. So there's this idea of you coming into greater self-awareness and greater growth and balance within your work, health, or daily routines, and supporting yourself in this transition into that new thing or that new phase. And a lot of it, I think, is quite psychological, because Scorpio is a very psychological sign. And this full moon makes a square to Pluto in the ninth house. And what I'm seeing with this, and if you haven't watched the overview, definitely make sure you watch that so you can even understand the context of this. But what I'm seeing with this full moon squaring Pluto is this idea that we have had some level of psychological or emotional detachment and disconnection from some area of our life or some area of our psyche, something in our essence. So I see that with this square to Pluto, because Pluto is in Aquarius. Aquarius does tend to be quite aloof or emotionally detached. They can become avoidant. And this is very much a coping mechanism of Aquarius. And I think all of us have had some level of that, because it's quite normal to have these coping mechanisms, and they're not necessarily problematic, but I think when we remain in them too long, they do become problematic. And I think that's the case with the Scorpio full moon, is we're seeing what we have maybe remained in a little bit too long. So we're transitioning into greater balance in work, health, or daily routine, but we're having to become aware of where we have been emotionally detached from these ninth house matters. So let me talk about what that is. So we could be disconnected from a bigger why. Why am I doing something? What is a higher purpose for myself? Kind of being guided by like a life mission and a spiritual mission, rather than just the boots on the ground, looking around what's right in front of me. And the sixth house can feel very much like that. It's much more survival oriented. It is a day-to-day kind of mundane energy, whereas the ninth house is getting this bigger perspective and, again, really having an understanding of how things fit together into the grand scheme of your life and many lives and souls, and this whole spiritual perspective of our existence. And so I think in many ways you could have been disconnected from what is the bigger picture here? What is the purpose here? What is my mission? What is my why? And this is a time to reconnect to that psychologically, emotionally, spiritually. Another way that you could have been disconnected is from your own intuition, or from trust in general of your life path. If you have had this feeling of resistance, of holding on, of fear, these are signs that you are likely not in your state of trusting. So if you are not trusting your intuition or not trusting spirit, you're going to notice this kind of like kicking your heels and resisting that movement forward. So maybe that is an area where you are meant to dive further into and reconnect with. It could also be a need for something more adventurous, something new, something lively, something spirited, something that's going to take you to uncharted waters, to foreign territory, that's going to push your limits and help you grow as a person. You could have been ignoring your need for that as well. And if that's the case, this is your time to really engage with that and reconnect to that sense of adventure and learn how to expand your growth edge and challenge yourself. So really this full moon, you are going to notice that the biggest changes in your life are in work, health, or routines. But ultimately, what's really happening underneath all of that is this deep connection, reconnection to one of those or all of those things that I just listed. And that's really what's going to move the needle forward in starting a new job, in starting a new health routine, or being consistent, or starting a new schedule, managing your responsibilities in your daily life differently because you are reconnected to your why, your intuition, your trusting, your sense of adventure and growth. So that's really what's pushing us at the time of this full moon. Normally I pull cards before, but I don't know. I just got started with you guys. So interesting. Yeah. I pulled just now, the Three of Wands came out. So again, there is an expansion energy that's trying to happen here, but I feel like many of us could have been holding on to a comfort zone, a familiarity, and maybe even things from the past with the Six of Swords, where it could have felt challenging to, maybe not challenging, but it's like it wasn't the right time. Maybe it was like the adventure was waiting for us to be ready for it. And I think that there are things from maybe our childhood and our past that we needed to reconnect with in order to feel ready for this next step, or we needed to process some things, or we need to have some experiences. But there's a sense of maybe some of our just like things from the past that we're moving on from with the Six of Swords, that we're ready to just kind of like not play it small anymore, or like I said, push the growth edge so that it truly does feel like we are discovering what we're made of. And I pulled this gem archetype, and I love this because really the diamond is created under the pressure. And if we are in an environment that doesn't put pressure, if we are not forcing ourselves into situations that challenge us, we don't become the diamond. And I feel like that's what this full moon is about, is really getting over past things with our family and our childhood, not letting those elements of that have impacted us from our past psychologically, not letting those shadows, those demons, those fears, those insecurities creep into our future and restrict growth. Instead, using those things as basically untethering ourselves from those things so that we can be truly free and adventure forward. And it doesn't mean that that those things aren't important in our lives, but it's almost like we use them to heal and to become hopeful again, rather than using them as examples of why we can't do or have or be something that we want to be. And the Star card is really about that healing process and having hope, having faith that things are truly going to work out. I pulled the Six of Wands, 10 of Pentacles, and this is the outcome. So this is very much you achieving financial success, if that's what you're looking for, recognition or popularity within your work, if that's what you're looking for, finding that you are really honored and respected and looked up to, and that this is long-term stability, things that really make sense for you years and years from now. So there's a sense that you are really upgrading, and that you're going to honestly feel a lot more confident and pleased, happy because of these, growth edges that you're pushing yourself to. And that might take some time to get there, but ultimately it's saying that trying this and moving forward with this is the next right step. And I definitely see that because the ruler of this full moon is Mars, and Mars is conjunct Neptune in Pisces in your 10th house. So this is very much about what's happening in my career long term. What name am I making for myself? What makes sense for my reputation and the person that I want to grow into? And again, thinking really with the long term in mind, not this kind of reactive everyday life. So I'm really seeing that the choices that you're making now are very intuitively guided, and that you are going to move towards something that is extremely stable financially and just permanence wise, like it's not going anywhere, and also emotionally fulfilling, spiritually and intuitively fulfilling, because you are listening to your heart and challenging yourself. This Mars and Neptune conjunction is also sextiling Jupiter and Uranus in the 12th house, which signifies that leaving of the past, especially that 6 of Cups energy of our childhood, really leaving some of these memories behind. The things that have likely come back up around this full moon that might be emotionally sensitive. It's like you're processing them and you're releasing them. You're freeing yourself from them so that they become fuel, and part of you in some way. Like it's not like it never happened, but it's also not something that disconnects you from yourself or prevents you from moving forward or creates insidious fears. It's like we're truly releasing ourselves from those patterns, from those emotions, from mostly I think it's family stuff for many of us. Stuff that is, again, quite historical. You guys also have this stellium that's happening in Aries with the North Node, Mercury retrograde, Chiron, Venus, all in Aries in your 11th house. So this is really also an important time for community, friends, setting these like big visions, these big goals, and thinking about how you can draw in others into this experience. So how is this going to impact others? How can you help others with this? How can others be a support system? What kind of new friends and people are you going to meet as a result of trying this new thing? So it's really like when you're growing, when you're pushing that growth edge, you're going to start bringing in a lot of new people, places, and things into your awareness and into your connection or into connection with that. It's going to also add a lot of value to your life in other ways that maybe were kind of like a subsequent benefit of this full moon. So very, very precious kind of period of time for you guys. I'm excited to see how this manifests for you. And if this resonates with you, I'd love to hear about it in the comments down below. If you want a reading from me, you can check me out in the description box. I have my website, Cosmic Clarity Astrology. I believe I'm going to offer medical and fertility astrology readings. So if you're interested in something like that, if you've been suffering with a health condition or something that has been troubling you and you're uncertain about, if the doctors are maybe uncertain about it and you want some kind of astrological, spiritual perspective on the matter, then this can definitely be a help. If you're looking to get pregnant and you want to know when's the best day, when's the best time, what do I need to kind of keep into account, then astrology is extremely helpful for that. So if any of those interest you, you can find them on my website, which I will link down below. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up, subscribe, share with your friends, and have a beautiful day. Bye.